Hi Scrubs, I hope you're well. So we're back in Alicia Online and I'm joined by Kosetsu.
Hello everyone.
So today we are going to be talking about the coat survey that Alicia is currently doing. So if you're not aware of it, basically what they're doing is they've added a bunch of new coats to the rental system in the game, and we can vote on these coats, and we thought it would be fun to review them and give a bit of feedback on them. So to start off with, dear Alicians, we are planning to add a new coat to the breeding system. The previous update allowed you to view the preliminary versions of the coats that we prepared, and during this week we have slightly improved their looks, so now you're able to see their final versions. We invite you to vote for the coats that you would like to see in Alicia. To preview the new coats directly in the game, click on the information button at the top right upper corner of your screen and select the horses tab. There you'll be able to rent horses with the new coats. As usual, in order to vote, your character has to be at least level 10. You can vote for as many coats as you want. During the voting period, you can also change your votes at any time by adding or removing a heart from the coat. And voting ends on December the 13th. The coat which receives the highest amount of votes will be added to the game. By the way, when this coat is released, we will also add an additional horse slot. We are planning to add new coats to the game periodically, so the coats which don't win this time still have a chance to be added to the game in the future. And we're excited to see your feedback on the new coats. So here in the survey tab, we have all of these coats that you can therefore vote for. We've got the blue ROAN, the GRULLA TOBIANO, the cremello, the DAPPLE TOBIANO, the red ROAN, the splash white, the GRULLA stocking, the bay TOBIANO, the PALOMINO TOBIANO, and the black frame OVERO. And these can be voted for until the 13th of December. So if you want to vote, log into Alicia and head on to the survey page. So here in the horses tab, we've got where we can actually rent the horses with the experimental features, and these change every 15 minutes, okay? Now the original horse that you choose to rent your horse on top of will still gain experience when you're using the rented horse, and when these change every 15 minutes, the mane can change the colour of the mane, for example, but obviously the coat will stay the same. And also you will have different stats usually on the horses as well, so this is where you can go ahead and rent any of the horses that you choose. So we're going to start off talking about the blue ROAN. So what do you think of the blue ROAN?
I really like this coat. I'm a huge fan of blue ROAN as it is. They did a really good job with it. I really like it with the black mane. The gray mane, for once, the gray does not look like it's a mop. Before, on the white horses and the black horses, it literally looked like you had a mop for a tail. It was awful.
Yeah, it's that sort of off colour you get whenever you've used a mop to clean the floor, yeah. It doesn't particularly look that nice. But no, on these particular horses, it looks really, really, really nice. And I really do like the blue ROAN. I would say the blue ROAN is definitely one of my personal favourites out of these horses. I think they have done a really nice job in this, and this would be one I would really like to see. It's not my favourite, like my all-time favourite, but it's definitely up there amongst them for sure.
The blue ROAN is my favorite out of all of the new coats that they have on preview for us.
So do you think, regardless of what colour the mane and tail was, you'd be happy with this?
Yeah, it actually, this one has really good potential for breeding potential horses, because no matter what mane color you get, this horse looks good. You get white, black, or gray, it doesn't matter, it looks great.
Yeah, I think it would be a nice horse to use for potential breeding, because of that exact thing. I don't think it would look bad in any of those three main colours. So yeah, this is probably definitely in my top three, I would say for sure, would be the blue ROAN. So next we have the GRULLA TOBIANO. Now, I have to say, this one kind of falls a bit flat for me. I think the reason that it falls flat for me is I'd like to see more depth of colour to this horse, and maybe a different pattern, because there's some patterns on some of the other horses that I think really lift the coat and really make it very, very nice as a coat. But this one kind of reminds me too much of, I think, some of the Pintos that we already have in the game. Just a slightly lighter Pinto, nearly. And it doesn't really shine for me. Although I think certain manes and tails, I think it would look better. But for me, this is not one of my top picks.
So I don't find this coat very appealing. It can definitely be improved, maybe with a different pattern. I personally prefer black horses, gray horses, so this coat just, it doesn't really call to me at all.
Yeah, no. I kind of feel like this one just needs maybe a little bit more with the markings. I think a bit more pattern to it. Like, if we'll talk about, like, one of the frame ones later. I know that this obviously is a Tobiano, and they can only do so much to make it still be a Tobiano, but I feel like there's a couple of Tobianos in here that we have, I think are nicer than this one. So I prefer them over this one. So after that, we have the Cremello. Now, this I kind of feel a little bit odd about, because I kind of like it, but I'm also not sure. It has a slightly pinky tinge to it, and I feel like if they'd maybe go a little bit less pink and maybe just a tad. But then I think the problem is you don't want it to end up looking too much like the grey. But I do kind of like this, but it does depend, I think, on the mane I'd get. I don't like it with the dark mane.
Yes, this dark mane does not, I feel like it doesn't suit this horse very well. The flaxen, however, and the white look really nice on this horse. And I would say this one actually really sits really well with me with the flaxen and the white mane.
Yeah, I think it looks really nice with the flaxen. I think the flaxen maybe would be my preferred mane color on this one, actually, over the white. But I don't like the dark mane on the Cremello at all.
Yeah, it doesn't help the coat.
Yeah, no, I think it's a nice coat, but I think it depends a lot on the mane and tail.
Yeah, I agree.
So the next one we have is the DAPPLE Tobiano. Now, this here is kind of what I was trying to talk about with the other Tobiano earlier. This, to me, has a much more interesting pattern. And this is kind of... If the other one maybe had a little bit more of that, and a wee bit more depth to the colour of it, I think it would be much better. But the DAPPLE Tobiano, I really, really, really like this horse. I think I'd like it with black, white, or grey mane, quite happily. I don't think that would be a problem for me. I would say it's in my top 3, for sure. I really like this horse. I
think for this horse, the white mane would look really nice, considering how the white on the neck would line up perfectly with a white mane. That's what I would say for mane color on this one that I would prefer personally. I really do like dapple horses. They did a great job with this one. For the other Tobiano, maybe they could have made a dapple bay instead of just a plain one like they have. That would have brought more depth to that coat.
I actually think a dapple bay on that other coat would actually be really, really nice. For sure. The other thing I really like about this coat is the pink nose, which I think is super cute on it. So the next horse we have is the red roan. Now, this I don't like as much as the blue roan, but I still think it's quite nice. In terms of the mane, I think I prefer flax mane with it, compared to the dark and the white, actually. But, I think maybe with this horse I'd like a little bit more red to the red roan, just a little bit, to lift it up a wee bit more. But overall, do quite like this horse. I'm a fan of red roan.
Yeah, I'm definitely a fan of this coat as well. The flaxen looks great. I have to say though, I do like the light brown with it because it brings more of the red to the horse. That's one of the problems I have with the flaxen. Even though it does look great, I want it to be more red, like you said.
Yeah. So following that, we have the splashed white. Now, this is probably one of my least favorite coats. But when I say this least favorite coats, I mean this as I don't really like splashed white as a pattern that much. When it comes to horses, I'm kind of fussy that way. So this is more of a personal preference than it is anything else. It's less to do with the coat itself. But I do have to say, I do kind of like it with the black mane and tail. I think it is kind of interesting in that regard, but yeah, splash white is just not a coat color in general in horses that I'm not keen on.
I have to agree with that. I'm the same way. I mean, I really do like black and white horses, but this pattern I don't really like. If you were to add a white mane onto that with the black coming up the mane or the neck, it looks really weird. You would honestly almost only ever have a black mane on this horse because it would just look weird with white coming out of where a black area is.
Yeah. See, this is just a coat. Like, there's a lot of different white patterns in horses, and splash white has just never been a pattern that I've been that keen on. Like, I prefer Tobiano, for example, over it way, way more. Or an Appaloosa coat, for example. So no, splash white's not my personal preference, but I feel kind of bad saying it because I think it's a nice job of a splashed white coat, but I'm just not a splash white fan.
Yeah, I agree.
So next we have what is definitely my favorite, the GRULLA stocking, and I love this horse so much. I just adore it. It looks nice with the black, it looks nice with the grey. I actually really prefer it with the grey. I am sure it would be nice with the white as well. I don't know that I actually had managed to rent one with a white mane, but I love this horse and its little pink nose.
Yeah, I definitely really like this as well. I love the socks on it. I like the shading on it. Looks great with any mane color that it has to offer on it. It's really well done. I really like this one. This one is my second favorite.
Yeah, for me this is like my favorite. I really do like the blue roan, but the GRULLA I fell in love with first when I saw it. I was like, oh my god, it's got a little white face, it's got a pink nose, the wee socks. I love the shading on it, as you mentioned. I really like the shading on the neck as well. And the back legs and the wee zebra stripes on the legs. When I noticed those, that was just like, oh my god, it's got little stripes.
Yes,
so, yeah,
definitely. They did such a good job with this one.
Yeah, this is definitely my all-time favorite out of these so far, and I really hope it gets through. Probably won't because the blue roan seems to be winning, but I still hold some hope. So the next one is the Bay Tobiano. Now, this one actually took me by surprise because when I was looking at the survey, I thought, oh, I'm not going to like that much. But actually, when I rented it and I actually got to sit on it, I was like, actually, this is actually quite nice. I can't remember which mane it was that I really, really liked it with. It might have been... Does it come with flaxen? Not sure.
Yes, I believe it does.
Okay, I think I really like this horse with flaxen, if I remember right. This pattern... This is like a good example of another Tobiano pattern that I really like. I think they did a fab job with that. As somebody who's not massive on bay horses, I like that.
I actually really like the pattern on this one as well. My main complaint with this is I'd like to see multicolored manes. So if you were to get the white and the bay to correspond correctly on the horse, like I was saying with the splash white, you would never have a white mane on that horse because the horse has black right there. So the same thing with this is where you would want where the bay is, the bay part to be that bay color, and then where the white is for it to be that white. That would look really nice. I think that would just add even more depth to the horse.
I mean, I don't know if we'll ever have a situation where they can do like different colors in the mane, because I don't know if that's technically possible for them, but if they did, I think it would be really nice to add that. Yeah,
I mean, like you could possibly even have flaxen as the bay part of that color instead. I think some of the Pinto horses should actually be more limited to their main colors to match their body colors, because that's usually how Pintos are.
Yeah. So the next one is another Tobiano. This one is a Palomino Tobiano. Now this one falls a little bit flat, and I actually was thinking, although I wasn't that fussed on that Tobiano that I was discussing way earlier on, the reason the Palomino Tobiano kind of falls flat for me is the fact that I think some of the manes that seem to be available with it, now it could be different when they add it to the game, but you can have really dark manes with this. I think was black an option, possibly.
I don't think I saw the black when we were going through and renting the horses for the recording.
The dark brown.
I think I saw the dark brown, which almost looks black if you don't look at it right. So yeah, it does look really awkward with any dark mane, because it is a Palomino. Palomino's one of their characteristics is having that really light mane.
Yeah. So from that perspective, I know Alicia's not like super like realistic with the the breeding genetics or anything like that, but when it comes to the mane being dark on a Palomino, to me then it should really be a buckskin, because that's what it then looks like when it's got the dark mane on. So this is one of the issues that I have with this. I would like a little bit more variety with the pattern, maybe a couple of spots on that, maybe a little bit more white near the hindquarters and a bit more Palomino near the neck. But really the biggest issue that I have with it is the fact that the brown mane seems to be available with it. Don't know if that's going to be how it would be if it was added, because they might not do that. They might just have it that you can have white and grey, for example, or flax. That I think would be okay.
So I have to say here, though, with this coat, they did improve the Palomino coat color, because our current Palomino is like an orange, what the heck is this? So I
It is
feel
very
like
orange.
if they were to take this full Palomino color that they have here and update our current one, I would love our Palominos more.
Yeah. No, I have to agree there. So the last horse that we have is the Black Frame Overo. Now, I actually think, even though I haven't picked this as one of my top 3, I really like this horse. Really, really like this horse. They've done a really beautiful job with the coat. I think it's really spot on. And it's a really interesting pattern as well. And I love the fact that the face markings nearly look like a skull as well. So this is one that I would really like to see because I think it would be a really fab addition. I think it's actually probably one of the nicest ones they've done as well. In terms of definition and everything, this one seems really it's like there's a lot of depth and contrast to the coat. And I've noticed that when I've seen people racing on them. So I think this one would definitely be a really nice one for them to add as well.
I have to say this again, this isn't one of my favorites, but I do like how much detail was put into the coat. It looks nice. It's just not my kind of horse.
Yeah. Now I can understand that. It's kind of like with the Splash White. Like, Splash White isn't my cup of tea. This is more my cup of tea, for sure. I really love the detail because it really pops. There's just that real depth of color to this horse for me.
I feel like if you were to have anything other than a shaved or a spiky mane on this horse, it really hides the horse, like its neck pattern. And I guess that's like my main problem with some of this is that, you know, you're hiding the great coat that you made with these long manes. To each his own. I prefer shaved or spiky manes, but yeah, I like some of the coats. It really hides some of that detail that they put into them. No, I can understand what you mean. Yeah, whenever you've got, I suppose the same thing applies nearly when you've armor on sometimes too. Yeah, that's true. The armor is probably going to hide some of the patterns on our new ones. Yeah, I think it probably will. So last thing before we close it up here, what I would like to see in the future from AO is to update our current coats. They don't compare to these newer ones, and they look old and outdated. Our blacks need to be updated. Our whites need to be updated. The Palomino, as I mentioned earlier, would look great if that coat was to match what we have on that new Palomino. It's too orange. It's not, that doesn't scream Palomino to me. So I think some time and effort should be put into updating the older coats and to give them a new look and refresh them. I think it would be nice for them to refresh some of them. I mean, some of the coats I quite like, but there are a lot of coats there that, to me, compared to what they've shown here, they could definitely make them at that level, because I think they deserve to get that bit of a revival, because obviously if they add a couple of new coats, I don't know how many they're going to add, I have no idea, but let's say they added 3 or 4 coats, I don't think people will bother with some of the old horses, actually, and that would be kind of sad. Yeah, another thing that I would like them to add is a black stalking horse. That would be great. I'd love to see a black horse with 4 white stockings. That would be awesome. Yeah. It would actually even just be nice if they could add more variety with markings in terms of, like, leg markings, face markings. I know that we have a couple of face markings, but, like, just a bit more variety on top of that would be quite interesting. Yeah, that would be really cool too. I'd like to see that, especially on like our chestnuts, our bays, blacks, basically anything that's like a full coat color. I'd like to see those randomized leg markings. That would be great. Yeah. Anyway, Scrubs, we're going to leave it there. We hope you have enjoyed our little discussion today. So thank you to Kos for joining me. Yep. See you later, everyone. Anyway, Scrubs, I'm going to leave it there. I hope you had a lovely day. Bye, guys.